Freiburger here. This one's going to be a tour of L&L Classsic Auto in Idaho. Acres and acres and acres of classic cars. I'm going to pick some of my favorites and show them to you, as well as give you some tech tips, some spotter guide stuff, and just have a great time here seeking junkyard greatness. Here's one that freaked me out when I came around the corner, but no, it is not a real Buick GSX, even though it looks like one. However, I think this might be a real GSX spoiler, but unfortunately, it is trashed. '1964 Chevy Impala, not my favorite year. However, look at the customization. Somebody has done homemade lace paint on the hood and all down the sides. In the old days, guys would do this using literal lace doilies or tablecloths like from their grandma. You lay it out, you spray paint through it, and it acts like a mask and makes that. Ooh, they got stripes too. Okay, pretty cool. The 1968 Oldmobile Vista Cruiser, you know, these things are probably the most culturally hip and popular station wagons of all time, perhaps eclipsed by the Chevy Nomad. But the Vista Cruiser, with the windows in the roof up here on the top and on the sides, was like epic. Oldmobile had them from, 1964 to 1967 was the first sort of generation, and then they had them from 68 to 72. Now, a similar model is the Buick Sport Wagon. They only made those through 1969, and then the windows in the top were discontinued. This one is a 1968. This is my favorite year of the Oldsmobile sort of round body cars, 68 to 72, with the spread headlights. And L&L has not just one, well, they probably have a ton of them, but parked right here, they have this 68 and that 72. One of the biggest problems with the Vista Cruisers is they're always rotted all the way around the window. This one is surprisingly good. Let's go have a look at some more junk. Wow, they have an actual AMX, not a Javelin. See how it's like, oh, you were stubby? It's a 68 or maybe 69. The 68 and 67 Impala Fastback are some of my favorite cars of all time. I love the big GMB bodies. Let me show you how to tell the difference between a 67 and a 68, and I'll use some B-roll from other cars around here in the yard. I'm sure they've got more. The 68 has the 6 taillights like this, and I always remember that because they've got the round taillights, and the 67 does not. Meanwhile, the 67 has the perfectly round gauges in the dash, but I love the 67 dash. So I always remember round holes, if they're in the taillights, 68. If they're on the dash, 67. The grille on them is a little bit different too. On the 68, there's more shrouding from the hood over the grille, and the 67, not quite so much. Overall, the 67 is my pick. Maybe someday I need to build a 67 with a 68 bumper. I admit I'm not much of an AMC guy. I am a Jeep guy, so there's a little trickle over. However, I do have some affection for this car right here, which is a 1972 AMC Matador, and it's a 2-door fastback, which is what makes it cool. I have to admit, when I was watching Adam 12 as a kid, I thought they kind of jumped the shark when they went away from the Mopars and into the Matador with a similar front end. The Matador is like an evolution of the earlier AMC Rebel, which is a way cooler name than Matador. It was just sort of a dress-up package on it. They made this one from 71 to 73, and then they had full-size, sort of different strange-looking versions from 74 on up. One tip, if you're looking to build an AMC V8, I prefer the 1970 and up ones that have a taller deck height than the earlier ones. So you want to look for a later 304, 360, or if you can, a 401. How do you identify them? The displacement is cast right on the side of the block. This one is a 360. And just for reference, there's a Rebel right there, which is what it spun off from. The majestic Rambler Marlin, also AMC Marlin. These came out in 1965. They ran until 67, and I have always thought that they were the precursor to the 1966 Dodge Charger. Look at the similarity in design with the two-door fastback coupe. Now, these are a smaller car than a Charger. I would call this a downsized car, where at the time the Charger was considered a midsize, but still, I think Rambler beat Mopar to the punch with that. My favorite AMC Pacer fun fact, the passenger door is that much longer than the driver's door. Why? So that you can get in the back seat easier from the curb. The 59 Oldsmobile is one thing, but it's got an old vintage dealership badge on it. I love those things. I collect them from all over. Actually, I don't take them off cars. I just get pictures of them. I'll show you some of them from here at L&L Classic. I would have been really irritated if a brand new car dealer had put that on my car when it was new, but now that it's vintage, I love it. Here's another thing that I absolutely love in junkyards is what I call door art. Old lettering on trucks and even sometimes cars that was hand done. I just think of like, who owned this business and how did they make their living off of it? Who hand painted that? How did they come up with the font and then the years of patina on it? It's killer. Just love it. Of course, of the famous Chrysler Slant 6 with the engine leaned over like this. Perhaps you've heard of the Pontiac Trophy 4-cylinder, which is half of a Pontiac V8. Once again, a Slant 4. But did you know that International also made a Slant 4 for the Scout? They made one that was half of a 304 V8 and one that was half of a 392 V8. The Buick Riviera, 1971 to 1973. One of the greatest Buicks, in my opinion. I've always wanted to have one of these things. They've got that great speedster design in the back. It's a little bit like, a mid-year Corvette with that shape to it. And the interesting thing about this is GM designer Bill Mitchell and his guys wanted this car to be smaller. But in production, they made the thing huge because at the time, everybody thought luxury car meant big, heavy road boat. But you know what? That's what I love about it. Speaking of the whole fastback body style, check this out. They actually have a fastback Mustang here. Hard to find in any junkyard anywhere, even in that kind of condition. Remember earlier I was talking to you about the Rambler Marlin and that fastback thing that came out in 1965? Well, I guess I got to give credit also to Ford for coming up with that. It was super popular at the time. Nonetheless, I'm still arguing that the Marlin was the precursor, or at least got the jump start on a Dodge Charger. And of course, the Mustang is legendary. I'm in the Wagoneer section, full-size Jeeps. Now, they don't have the Jeep that I'm going to talk about here, but I'm going to give you a tech tip because I don't think everybody knows it. First of all, the green vehicle in the foreground is a Cherokee. See how it's a two-door? And the orange or red one up in the background is a Wagoneer because it's got four doors. But did you know they actually made two-door Wagoneers? 1963 to, I think, either 67 or 68. I'm not sure. How do you tell the difference? Well, the two-door Wagoneer has the Wagoneer type taillight that wraps around the side of the quarter panel, and the two-door Wagoneer has a full side glass with a very small pillar in the back like the red one there. So it doesn't look like what you can see on the Cherokee. Now, the other weird thing is they did make four-door Cherokees. How do you tell the difference between that and a Wagoneer? Well, it's the taillight once again. The vertical taillight is going to be a Cherokee, and the one that wraps around the quarter panel is going to be a Wagoneer. I bet you didn't know. The huge Chrysler C-body. You've probably heard of the muscle car era mod top, the crazy kind of flowered roof that they had. Well, check this out. It's got the Paisley vinyl top. And by the way, I love the fake little hood bumps, not scoops, with the 383 badge and the turn signal. Look at this 67 Firebird, obviously an old circle track car. '56 Pontiac station wagon. You know what? It's a bummer that these things are not made on the same chassis as a Tri-5 Chevy. They're longer in here. They've got the different brake master cylinder setup. There's a bunch different about them. You know what's cool, though? Are these trim pieces. These were called suspenders by some people. Pontiac used them for a long time. Sometimes they just had one right down the middle. This is a 56. By 57, they were gone. Look at this. It's a checker, but it's no cab. This is an Aerobus. It's an airplane car. 4 doors per side to take everybody to their hotel. Look at this. This is really why I love junkyards. These old decals, these are like the standard old state decals. You see people in modern, like fake 50s cafes ripping this style up all the time. But this is legit. Oregon, California, Arizona, Utah. Can't tell what that one is. Wyoming. Palo Duro Canyon State Park. Radical. Love it. Opel Cadets. Oh man, that's it for today. I've been here about 3 hours because I didn't expect to drive by L&L Classics at all. I walked in, they were super cool to me, they let me explore, but it's finally closing time and I gotta get out of here. I promise, more longer videos next time, because one thing's for sure, this is not my last junkyard adventure.